Hello and welcome to my review of The Goodies, a complete BBC collection. Today we're up to episode 6, Cecily. Desperate for a job, the boys decide to accept one day's work as caretakers and a nanny, with Tim in drag, to a young girl called Cecily. But it seems as though someone is trying to kill her. Highlights of this episode for me included the horror aspect of this episode. It's got the creepy aunt and uncle and the gothic haunted house. To me, this adds a really interesting new dimension to what the Goodies are doing. I've mentioned before that this is one of my favourite episodes, and watching it again today, I realised why I like it so much, and that is Bill's music. And I think, let's just take a minute to appreciate what Bill was doing here. As well as writing and performing in the episodes, he was co-writing and recording all of this amazing music. And Cecily features one of my personal favourites, which is Are You Coming Out to Play? And I just love that song so much. And, against the backdrop of this sort of gothic house and the sort of Addams Family flavour of this episode, this song just adds this beautiful, sweet and tender melancholy tone to the whole show. Another highlight for me in this episode was that Graeme gets to really go off on his own and showcase his great physical comedy skills in his bit in the garden. While we've seen Tim dabbling in a bit of cross-dressing before, in this episode he pretty much spends the entire episode in drag as the nanny. And I always love seeing Tim in a dress. He just embraces those roles so beautifully. Also notable in this episode for me was one of the ads, which I am not sure if it might have been censored from the Australian screenings before, and that's the ad for the Polaroid type camera, which when Tim takes a picture of the pretty lady, the Polaroid turns out and in the photo she's got no clothes on. So that was an unexpected adult element in this episode for me. Some great guest stars in this episode, including Anne Way, who you might remember from her appearance in Fawlty Towers. She has such a great face and really adds to the spooky feel of this episode. The other guest stars are Robert Bernal as her husband and Jill Riddick as young Cecily. This is a really strong episode and there's just so much going on in it. From the horror elements to all the great slapstick, and there's a lot of physical comedy in this episode, to the very sweet scenes of Tim and Cecily playing together. There's something just lovely and charming about this episode, even though it's got the kind of horror elements to it and the great twist at the end. Watching this episode again today, I felt like the boys were really building strength in their format as they head towards the end of season 1. So next time, I hope you'll join me for the final episode of series 1, which is Radio Goodies. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.